di Fernandez, gol! Pirlo, la conclusione in rete! Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco! Del Piero, gol! Alex, Del Piero! Pogba, rete! Un gol incredibile! Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium!
Buongiorno. Come ha detto lei, buongiorno.
Buongiorno indeed, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Turin Giants podcast. Edition number, Zach, help me out here, 279?
Yes, I have no idea. It's a big number.
It's a big number. It is what it is, boys and girls. It's a post-Juve, or I should say Napoli Juve, the first loss of the season special. Alessandro Belpiero here. My name is Farhad. I'm the host that loves you most, as always. I'm joined here by Zach and Freddie here. Boys, it's going to be a quick one. Everyone's got stuff to do, but we needed to discuss the first loss of the season. It's not going to be a fun one. We're all angry as Juve fans. I'm sure the audience shares our frustration. Freddie is ready to go here. He's literally steaming. I don't know if we'll release a video of this. I'll see how it looks, but you can listen to us and watch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever Google phone or Pixel phone app you use for your podcasts, as well as YouTube. Let's get into it. How did we look? It's one of those games. It's a tale of two halves. As always, we go to Zach first to see what he thought of the formations and how did the coach start the game on paper.
I think the two main things to highlight with our starting lineup, because from a defense and a midfield standpoint, I think that was probably the best we could do. The two surprising things are on the forward line. First, you had Kolo Muani starting, brand new signing coming in. You wonder, is he going to have the cohesion? Is he going to be able to do what the coach wants him to do? Is he going to have good synergy with the players around him? Second issue, or sort of surprising thing to me that maybe was an issue, was that Yildiz and Nico Gonzalez were playing on what I would consider their weaker sides. Yildiz on the right as opposed to the left, and Nico on the left instead of the right. So that was a surprise to me. But as the first half shaped out, everything seemed to be manageable. We played decent in the first half, probably are the better team, and go into halftime up 1-0.
Yeah. You there?
Oh, yep, we hear you, bro.
You're done, right?
Yeah, I was done.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you wanted me to monologue the whole game.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm looking at FOPMob here. I mean, the ratings weren't that bad. There's only two players in an orange, which is like orange meaning below 7, which is not even that bad. Kalulu was 6.9, and so was Di Gregorio at 6.9. I mean, 7.0 for Kolo Muani. Obviously, shout outs to him for the goal. It's Freddie here played on the highest level out of all of us. He knows that coming into a team, especially such an important game, first time, it's extremely difficult. And the fact that he scored, let's celebrate that if there's one thing to celebrate out of that game. But let's continue. So Turam 7.2. Who wants to? Actually, I did just give away the highest point getter. Actually, no, Yildiz with 7.3. What do you think about that? Freddie, Freddie hasn't spoken yet. What do you think about Yildiz getting a 7.3? Bit overrated?
Bit overrated. I tend not to look at those points after game too much because I think it's about the collective. And a 7.2 for Yildiz, I feel, is very, very generous. I mean,
yeah, right.
For me, was not in his game, be it the position, be it the chance that he missed that influenced his game. But I think we need to look at the overall performance and basically state that it was shambolic performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm,
Well,
I'm at a
let's.
little lost for words, to be honest.
No, you weren't yesterday on the WhatsApp thread, but let's let's see what Mota was saying. So we played many matches recently. Having limited preparation time during the week impacts our performance. Excuse number one. In the second half, we struggled to repeat the good thing we showed in the first half. Well, guess what? There's two halves. He noted that they had a good first half, putting significant pressure on their opponents. Napoli, who lead the league table, are not there by chance. They're a strong team with an excellent coach. Kissing ass of the opposition coach. We haven't won in the stadium since 2019, and that's a fact. Another excuse. It's like, hey, others didn't do it. I'm not going to do that either. And that's kind of the theme of the podcast today. We're just upset at the overall state of the team. We can break down the tactics and the individual performances all we can, but all we want, but it comes down to the overall attitude of the squad, of mainly the coach. Um, at this point, are you looking at other coaches? I know we were very careful. We were very patient as a podcast crew. Uh, Zach is shaking his head, but I'm not talking about the trolls that there's many WhatsApp threads. I'm sure you guys are part of it as well, but the Allegri smiling photos with "Miss me yet?" Shut up! Like you're not being creative. You know, like I have these old heads in my in threads and in the comments and Allegri pictures popping up. Let's let's leave that trolling aside. Is Mote the guy for the future?
No.
I don't see how one game against Napoli is going to change my answer, and we'll get to this in a minute. So I maintain that for now the answer is yes.
Okay. So you continue with him. You know what?
Well, let me ask. In a
Yes.
show of hands, who expected us to win this game? Nobody. Who is Napoli?
No, but after
hold
the,
on,
hold
hold
on,
on,
hold
hold
on.
on.
But
Is Napoli a better
no, but
team than us right now? Hold on. I mean, we can talk about the second half performance, and it was an absolute horrible display on the pitch, no question. But this is a game that no one expected us to win. It's a game against a better team in their house that even Scudetto winning Juventus didn't win at. Yeah, okay, excuse, fine. But we like to compare to different teams. Well, again, with better players, we still didn't win there. So it's like at the end of the day, we can call this performance what it is. You see, take Frederick's term, shambolic. But in the grand scheme of our season, if we don't finish top four, no one's going to go back to the Napoli game and say, well, it's because we didn't beat or tie Napoli at the Diego Maradona. No, we're going to talk about the ties against all of those teams at the bottom of the table, right? This game was in the grand scheme of our season. Now, it could be a catalyst, a negative catalyst, right? Those types of games could always happen. But this game is not the reason why we're not going to finish top four. It's not a game that anyone expected us to win. So we can call it a terrible performance. And I'm not going to pretend that second half was anything greater than that because I would be lying to myself in addition to all of you. But I'm not going to I'm not going to overreact to
no,
one
but
game.
the second half is the story of our season.
It's
You know,
not. That's
why
wrong.
not? But why
That's
not
wrong.
why not put more pressure on them and not completely lay down and take it, you know, 2 quick goals. And by the way, Zach in the private chat sent me the fact that I was reading a wrong stats, and he's absolutely right. There's only one player in green with 7.0, Colomuani. The rest are all oranges. I truly apologize. I was reading overall season stats by FUTMob is a mess as a website. I'm sorry. I get confused a lot. Like if a game happened yesterday, it takes like 3 clicks to get to that game. But anyways, let's review like the worst performances here. My eyes are so bad. 6.1 from Cambiaso. And when was the last time we saw a 6.1? 5.9 from Coop Miners. I would like to discuss Coop Miners if you guys don't mind.
No, but hold on. You said that this second half was emblematic of our season, and I think that is patently false. Our season has been, at least look, the last 7 games. Okay, well, up to Brugge, we outplayed our competition for the previous 7 games prior to that. Okay, and the story of our season was outplaying our competition and leaving with a tie. That's really been the story of our season. The Brugge, and then the second half against Napoli was the first time since maybe Stuttgart, and maybe the only times, except Stuttgart and maybe the first half against Inter, where we were so thoroughly outplayed. So it's not the story of our season. It's the story of this week.
But that's on the coach, I feel. I'm sorry. I mean, if you ask
Are you saying that 5 halves of football out of 30 games, 60 halves, let's not pretend it's a trend. Yes, 2 games back to back. It sucks. But that's why I'm not concerned that this is some catastrophic sign of disintegration of Juventus.
The thing is, I haven't seen any noteworthy performances that made me believe that we were onto something with Motta. And to me,
Manchester City was a great game, and remember the mood after City. That's it. Here we go. It was a draw right after.
Those games should
our
be.
last episode was Milan. It's just like, and I know that you guys were saying, well, it's a shitty Milan team that beat us 2 weeks prior. But let's not get it twisted, folks.
But it's not a noteworthy performance. Listen. You're right. It's not the end of the world, but at this point, seeing that second half made me angry. And I'm usually, I know it's just a game. I know we're just supporters, but there comes a point where a performance like this, where you can't string several passes together, but it takes your opponent 2 seconds to dispossess you, or 2 seconds to put together 2-3 passes that result in a counterattack. That's unacceptable. And I was talking to Freddie before the game, before the podcast, how Conte was trolling us in a respectful way, but he was saying, hey, this is not how you play for Juventus. This is not how you coach Juventus. Juventus means only winning.
We lost against, sorry to interrupt, Farah,
Sure.
and I'm very sorry, but I had this in the back of my head and I really want to speak it out. We've been outplayed by Juan Jesus, Politano, and those players are fair players. What's the difference? Conte makes them better. Our coach doesn't make our players better. And I'm sorry, you can pull up the statistics all you want, but Douglas Luiz was one of the best midfielders in the Premier League last season. Koop Meiners was midfielder of the year for twice a year in a row. Yet, with us, I don't know, nothing's working. Nothing is actually working. We are at the helm of somebody who sees total football, who wants possession, who preferably wants the center back to get up front and score a goal. But it's just not obtainable. It's just not obtainable because what we see week after week is just shit. And I don't care if it's against Milan or City, because those 2 good games were against teams in utter stress and in a downfall. And we're at the same point now. What are we seeing? We're seeing players that don't evolve, in my opinion. A team that doesn't evolve. We don't see grinta. We don't see any heart or passion. And Koop Meiners, Nico, David Luiz, all these players up until this point, and we're approaching February, have not made any noteworthy impact whatsoever. We're not evolving. We're not getting better.
I agree.
No, we're getting worse. And I don't want to win against Napoli at all costs. I mean, everybody wants to win, but that wasn't the thing that I was expecting. What I was expecting was a team that came onto the pitch, especially after another shambolic performance against Brugge, and showed their worth. And we started that well in the first half. And then what pisses me off the most is that the other team comes out of the dressing room with blood-soaked eyes, with foaming at the mouth, and we just stand there. We let Locatelli play center back for the first 10 minutes for some strange reason. I don't know why. And the coach after game has the nerve to say, well, yeah, the other guys didn't win here as well. So yeah, what you gonna do about it? That's the reason we hired you, you dumbass. We wanted to perform. We wanted to evolve. We wanted to become better. We're not becoming better. I hated
Yeah, so
Allegri with a passion this last season, but if I can choose right now to get Allegri back, and I know that's stupid and I know it's not realistic, but at least he could manage a side. We can't. We could be up 3-0 first time and still fumble it. That's something. I'm sorry. If I'd been president, I would have fired Mota alone for the things he said after the game. That's my honest opinion as a fan, as somebody who loves everything that has to do with Juve. But I mean, it's to the point that it's getting dramatic and laughable. We're being
yeah,
laughed at.
Who
absolutely.
cares? Who cares if other teams are laughing at us? Like, we are where we are right now, right? We're not the best team in Serie A. Full stop. Okay, it's Inter or Napoli. When we get beat by a better team, like, we can go and cry about it. But at the end of the day, that was always going to be a fair result. Now, I picked a draw. We didn't get the draw. We lost. It sucks. But when you lose against a better team, and certainly a team that has no bearing on whether we finished in top 4 or not, this game was never going to be that decider. Like, I think we can put brackets on this, because if you say I don't see us improving, well, Locatelli's season, McKennie's season, Cambiaso's season, but for the last couple of games, the rise of Emangula Yildiz, Kefren Turam. I mean, you can go back and forth on this. Let's not be over dramatic. We have been, over the last month and a half, since November up until Brugge, we've played good football, and this week has been tough, no question. But let's not be all Chicken Little and say the sky is falling and fire Mota because he lost a game we were probably always going to lose anyways.
I
It's the
didn't
way
say we
how
have
we
to
lost
fire him
it.
right away,
It's the
but
way how
at
we
this
lost
point,
it.
at
Sorry.
this point, you have to start. No, it's okay. At this point, you have to start thinking about: is he good enough? Is it worth the risk bringing him for the next season? Because who says he's going to change anything next season? So do we stick to the project? I'm just trying to see what people are saying. Zach is saying stick to the project, trust the process. Freddie's going back to Allegri. I'm just and I'm just trying to gauge what the listeners want to hear.
One thing that was interesting, and this is not an excuse, because there's not an excuse for the second half performance. To let's see, just look at comparisons. First half passing, I wrote it down. We have 236 passes to 149. In the second half, we had 140 to 204. In the first half, we had 5 shots, 2 on goal. They had 4 with none on goal. In the second half, 0 shots. They had 10. Possession in the first half, 60-40 us. Possession in the second half, 40-60 us. I mean, we just dropped goose eggs down the board that second half. It's terrible.
And
But
sorry to interrupt. Those passes, most of them were back and forth in our half, in a weird formation, and the passes that mattered went nowhere. Let's be honest. Those passes,
absolutely.
those numbers were stupid. You might as well put 200 passes in the first half and 5 good passes in the second half.
We rarely, even in the dying minutes, we really crossed half. But one thing I'll say is, part of managing a team that's in 4 competitions is rotating the squad so that you balance minutes. And part of that is making sure that your best players are fresh for big games, right? Like the Napoli game, I don't think you'll fight me that the Napoli game was probably bigger for us than the Brugge game, and in the grand scheme of things. At least that's the way I treated it. Like that we need that Napoli game. That would have been a statement win, right? It would have been a big confidence booster and everything.
But you wanted to draw. You wanted to take 2 points away from them, and now instead Napoli have 17 wins in first place, as opposed to us in 5th place with 8 wins.
Yeah,
we only have 8 wins by January 26, boys. I mean, come on.
But
hold on. So you manage a squad. The difficult thing when managing a squad that's broken is you really have very limited opportunities to rotate. So like when you look at the starting roster for Napoli versus the starting roster for Juventus, our guys had 2,800 more minutes in their legs. Okay, what is that? 30 extra games worth of legs. Juventus has played 20% more games than Napoli. That second half was bad, but those players were gassed. We were playing a bunch of guys who did not have the miles in their legs against people who were unequivocally and objectively fresh. Point one, point two. They're at halftime at home. Point three, down 1 goal. Point four, in the hunt for the Scudetto. Like, they were going to come out that second half with every advantage. Now, it's the coach's responsibility to recognize the strength of his players and the shortcomings of his players and game plan around the current status of the game. No question. And was there any game plan that second half? No. Right? But right now, we're managing beyond simply Napoli and Brugge at this point. We're trying to rotate guys in and keep legs fresh, because our guys, especially Loka Yildiz, Gatti, Kalulu, they have a ton of minutes on their legs right now. And that could very well bite us in the ass as the season progresses, because that second half, as shambolic as it was a team that was gassed.
But Brugge had the same excuse. Brugge also plays in 4 competitions with a squad that isn't as deep as other squads. Yet,
well, they were equally bad. That was too bad. That was 2 teams playing for.
But that's my point. I mean, we heard after the Brugge game, well, the important game is the Napoli one, so we should be happy with a draw because blah 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 blah. Then you go into the Napoli one, and you play even worse. So I failed to see the logic at that point, because you can rotate all you want, and granted, it's not easy to play that many games with very few people, or people who are capable to play that many games. And I'll give him that. I'll give Motta that. I even give him the excuse of the injuries we had, because that was just bad luck. And let's be honest, you can't have 20 center backs in your squad list. I mean, shit happens. Let's keep it at that. But the way that we see the performances and how they are going, and the things that he does to remedy them, those bring up red flags for me. I mean, Koopmeiners has no business playing 90 minutes the way he played. He should have been the first to be subbed off, yet for some strange reason, it never happens.
Hold on. Who do you start or sub for Coop?
I play for Jolie, because he can't play any worse than Coop.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so when it comes down to it, okay, this is our bench, right? We've got Douglas Luiz, who I was texting you guys throughout the game was a really bad fit for this game, in my opinion. You know, you need a guy who can run more, who could be a little more physical on the ball. He was not a good fit for the game. You had Fagioli, who I love, and I've said on the podcast I love. I wouldn't mind him playing. But you have Savona, who I think when we saw it, is this defense first type of guy. It was not who we needed, certainly in the second half, even though we subbed him on. Chico's not fit. Dushan can't play with the ball at his feet, which leaves Weah and Mbangula. So really, when you think about it, for our starting 11, we have 3 subs. Fagioli, a guy who hasn't played in 2 months, okay, that already you're starting from behind. As much as I like him, that's hard to put him on in a game like this when he hasn't played forever. And then you have Weah, who isn't fully fit, but would have been a good profile for this game if he was, and Mbangula, who's been playing really well lately. So there's limited options.
15 years old.
And 15, so there's very limited options. And so what my point is you talk about focusing, Brugge, focusing on Napoli. Well, we played largely the same team. The only difference was Yildiz and McKennie came off the bench because they had a slight knock, but they're playing every game in 90 minutes for the most part. This team needs to get healthy or get legitimate options. Now I know we got our these loan players, or the right back we bought, and then this lone center back in, but we've got to give some of these guys some breaks, because it was a great move from McTominay, but that Locatelli tackle on the penalty struck to me as just, that's him tired and flailing, and that's not a guy using his head. That's a guy who's gassed. And you look at performance. Nico Gonzalez was gassed at halftime. Okay, it's McKennie. We're asking him to play 90 minutes, and that dude runs a ton. Like, it's just, you can't. That's not sustainable. And so again, taking a step out from the Napoli game, as shambolic as that second half was, is I'm more concerned about having legs against the teams that we actually expect to beat, not Napoli at home or at their home. And that's sort of the challenge I have moving forward. When you have, like I said, 2,800 more minutes than the opposition, who's playing better than you and has a whole week to prepare at home, with the added incentive being the Scudetto race, that's tough.
But that's my whole point. I think that the team is constructed poorly. The coach is not performing or is performing poorly, and the players are as well. And if you add that into the mix with a president that's basically non-existent, because if I Google the face of the president of Juventus, I'd be shocked because I don't know what face he has.
Agnelli still comes up.
I mean, these are things that you could see
Rose-colored glasses.
On and off the pitch. Those things are not working. It's not working off the pitch. It's not working on the pitch. We are Juventus. We have no main sponsor. The season is halfway over. We have no main sponsor. We have people who we pay 1.5 million net a year. Our marketing manager Calvo, along with Scanavino, who are not able to bring in a head sponsor. I mean, that's baffling. We have
the management is in complete disarray.
We have Giuntoli who pops up in front of the camera pre-match, who says everything is hunky-dory and we need to learn, we need to do this, we need to do that, we're getting new players, we'll make the squad a bit wider, things like that. Okay, fine, do whatever you want, it's not my money. But fucking hell, we're spending 15 million on two guys we're loaning, like Vega and Colomwani. We're not even sure will be with us next season, just to fill in gaps because our team is poorly assembled. And that brings me back to Motta as well, because if you see that your team is being poorly assembled in July or August or what have you, but you keep on knocking on Giuntoli's door, hey, sign Koopmeiners, I need Koopmeiners, I need Koopmeiners, and Koopmeiners doesn't perform, then you're part of this problem as well. Because it's your responsibility pre-season to make sure that the depth of the team is big enough to handle all those matches. It's not like somebody called us and said, well, you have to play again on Tuesday. No, we knew this in advance. We knew the schedule. We knew the squad list. We knew what we needed to improve on. Yet we went all in with a hand worth 150 million euros. And we're at the table now and we're losing. We're bleeding chips. And there's no possibility, for me at least, to put this on the right track.
Yeah.
So I think you wanted to talk Coop, Farhad, and Frederic opened the door, right? So, why don't you kick us off on talking Koopmeiners?
All right, let's talk Koopmeiners. Nothing special to me. I don't have much to add. I don't know. Frederic is our Koopmeiners guy. He kind of mentioned him. I feel like we need to bench him. Try something different. But like you said, we don't have much of a squad depth to do that.
Let him rest, for fuck's sake. Let him rest. He's not... You could see the way he's moving that he's not in shape. He's just not in shape. This is like we bought the retarded brother of Koopmeiners from Atalanta or something.
We don't need to go that far there, Frederic.
Take a look back at the Koopmeiners from last season at Atalanta. And I know you can't compare because it's a different team, pressure, all that. But the difference is night and day. And it all starts with first your physicality and then the mental issue. And if you keep on squeezing him like a lemon, letting him play for 90 minutes, even though you can see that he's a fish out of the water for some reason, be it physically, be it mentally, then you're not doing any good by pushing him every game. And you could see that. I mean, I think it was minute, 10 or something when he took the shot yesterday.
He took a couple really bad ones. Bad ones.
The 40-meter shot, I mean, it's still in orbit around Mars somewhere, that ball, I think. But that is just
what's the future of Fagioli? I know you mentioned Fagioli. He was leaving a couple of months ago. They were selling him. Poor Freddie is like on a 15th cigarette already. He's
ahead of us in the day. He's ahead of us in the day. You know,
it's not worth it, dude. If I have a cigarette, I might die. I was in bed with the flu for like 3 days, man. I had to go to work yesterday because I'm out of vacation days. It was just hell.
Wait, you need vacation days to be sick? I'm sorry.
Welcome
it's
to
in my European side.
Welcome.
Welcome to America, buddy. Yeah, I had to literally go. I had a slight fever in the morning. I'm driving to work, just hating life. But anyway, besides that, I'm like Juve right now. I'm like Koopmeiners right now. But like what's happening with the players going in, coming out, it's not really sure what's going on. Like I said, Fagioli, you said he could come in for Cup Miners. And I love last year when Fagioli came out after his ban was done for the last game. I think it was Monza or something. He looked so great. And he's a great player who can evolve into a world-class player, a presence in the Italian national team. But then a couple weeks ago, I don't remember when that happened. He was damn near put on the transfer market, right? So back to Frederick's point, where the team is kind of like all over the place, and that brings me to the news where Agnelli, he says in a year, 2 years, he's planning on coming back. I truly believe that this is where the team will start performing again, and they will start making money for the team again. Because when he was the president, we were what is that? We're in the black is where you make money, right?
Yeah, we had a
I mean, we were
revenue
making
500 million a year, and now we're at 250.
Zach is making a funny face. I don't know why, but
why? Because he's also the one that ran us into the ground. I mean,
I don't know that.
Yeah, I do. Look, if we attribute what we're attributing to Giuntoli and the president and Mota this day, then let's not look at rose-colored glasses of just what good happened under Agnelli. Let's also look at the sketchy transfers that also landed us in hot water. Let's look at the financial books that this current iteration
the t-shirt cannonball
that were given. It's comical to me that we look that so many fans look back at that time just because we won and say, well, Agnelli this, Agnelli that.
But I'm also looking at the future where he says, I will bring in Saudi money. As much as I'm not,
do you want Saudi money?
Happy about, I do not. But let's be honest. He says that he will reorganize the financials. He will I just know there will be more good than bad.
No,
there were
the guy who broke the
finals.
financials is going to come back and fix the financials. That's absurd.
Whatever it is, it's better than what's going on right now, isn't it? We're bleeding money, like Frederick said.
I honestly don't think that Agnelli was responsible because he's the president, and by all means, the president is to be held accountable for everything that happens.
Absolutely, I'm not excusing him, Zach.
But the times that we had a decent managerial structure, where every responsibility and every core job was defined and outlined, we thrived. It was up until the point that Agnelli went all megalomaniac on us and said, I'm going to decide everything, that things went tits up. When you had Marotta, and I'm not a fan of Marotta, don't get me wrong, but he had a well-defined role within the squad, as did Paratici, because we had a general director and a sports director who were working hand in hand and needed to report to the president. Everything was hunky-dory. From the moment we saw Marotta leave, be it because of Ronaldo or whatever, I don't give a fuck, we pushed everything into Paratici's hands. He was given carte blanche, and he drove us into the ground. And you can fault Agnelli there because he had to intervene in a timely manner, which he didn't do. So, fair game.
Yeah.
I just want a president that has the best of Juventus in his head, and he can make mistakes. Because Lord knows Cannavino, Calvo, and the other puppets that are sitting there are doing the same as well. But at least make some mistakes and make them for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And that's my view.
Be
it Agnelli, be it a Saudi. You can even make Farhad president for all I care. If he makes the decisions in the benefit of Juventus and he tries to pull out everything that he can in order to make Juve as a team and a club better, I'm all for it. But sitting here, standing by, not knowing what kind of shape of football has as a president, to me, well.
Yeah. I know Zach has to go. Give us last 5 minutes of actually going back to talking about the game. Any last thoughts on the performance, and I'll mention the upcoming games as well. What do you got, Zach?
the second half performance is the worst performance that we've seen all year. Okay.
Yeah.
The question that this team has to answer, okay, players and the coach, is whether this second half, and if you even go back to Brugge, the last 3 out of the 4 halves that we've played, whether that is going to be the story of the second half of our season, or whether these are isolated situations of poor play. If we go into the next string of games, so you go into between now and the end of February, we have 2 notable games, Benfica and Inter. And everything else is our game. Every other game are games that we should absolutely win.
Yeah, well,
Is this
let's list them all. So 29th of January, in 3 days, Benfica, we're hosting them. February 2nd against Empoli at home. February 9th, visiting Como. February 16th against Inter at home. I mean, certainly that's in Serie A, that's 9 points right there. If the coach gathers the team and says that's 9 points, Frederick is making a face, because at this point we don't know. It may be like 2 points out of those 3 games. You know,
I think Como's very strong at home, to be honest, and not to.
And I'm not even talking about I'm not even talking about Benfica. Thankfully, we're playing at home because it's a really difficult place to play away. One shining moment of this season is still we're in the Champions League. At least we're not Real Madrid. We're not, PSG, who are, I'm sure Real Madrid will still make it out and win the whole bloody thing. But but Champions League still remains kind of a positive in our season. Zach, I know you're the straight man of this podcast, meaning you're here to bring us the facts and keep us grounded. But we're just pissed. We're passionate men. You can't tell me that Juve goes to Napoli, where we're hated, and performs like this. And like you said, second half was you agree with us that this was a pathetic performance, the worst of the season. I didn't recognize Juve. I was like, I was screaming, and you can see my text messages to you guys. Like, what are these 10 passes? What are these 20 passes? What are they leading to? One pass that should have been correct, it went nowhere. Or
that was the Douglas Luiz that pass that went right to the opposition, right? Yeah. It's just look. There is, you talk about straight man. I'm not sure how I feel about that tag, but look, I don't know. I think I don't want you guys to get confused to say that just because I take a different perspective that I'm not pissed. It's hard to watch, but I think one thing, as a coach myself, and you have to have a very short memory when things like this happen, because if you get down on yourself, that can lead to periods of poor form. And that's why the big message that I want from this game is, okay, it's over and done with. It's terrible 3 out of 4 quarters, the last 2 games, halves. Terrible 3 out of 4 of our last halves. What is it going to define us, or is it just going to be something we log away in the bowels of the season history and forget about? And that's going to be the key thing moving forward, because we can't change the past, right? We have to take out our frustration and anger. We, the players and the coach, need to take out their frustration and anger against teams like Empoli and Como, and then have the statement that we should have had against Napoli, against Inter in February.
For me to forget all that, they need to win at least 3 games out of 4. And then we'll start talking about the project going forward and going into spring and stuff like that. For now, I'm fully expecting either a loss at Benfica or a draw. And that's not my fault. That's just the way we were trained this season. Where you can pick 2 or 3, you can pick on one hand great performances by Juventus and Motto Ball this season. But it is what it is. I call it as I see it. I agree with you. Let's calm down. Zach told us to calm down, and he's the coach in here. I don't know. I know Zach has to go. This was never going to be a podcast where we're nitpicking every point of the game, but this was kind of like a I call those therapy session podcasts. We have those every once in a while. So let's look forward to the game against Benfica, January 29th, Wednesday. If I'm off, I'll try to do a live stream on YouTube. That was super fun when we did it, and
It was.
Manchester City. Let's start doing that. By the way, speaking of that, please find us youtube.com/Turin Giants official, not Turin Giants, because that was at Turin Giant at youtube.com/Turin Giants official. Let's bring our numbers up so we can start having more. I want to bring people in. I want to bring listeners in and start having discussions and give listeners a voice as well. I don't want Turin Giants to be 3 or 4 people talking. I want to bring in the community. So, and also at Turin Giants on Instagram if you want to chat with us. All right, boys. What do you say we finish it there? Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
All right, boys. Let me find the outro here. I'm Farhan. I'm the host who loves you most. I usually said that in the beginning. I don't know why I said it now. Sorry, the flu. Thank you, guys. Stay hydrated. Check on your friends, especially Juve fans, and Forza Juve.
Toodaloo, motherfucker.
Hey,
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.